Over the last 5 years, card games have gone from strange hobbies played by the nerdy kid from high school to a multi-billion-dollar collecting and investing industry, with scalpers, scammers, and scumbags galore. Obviously, some people are still collecting the hobby and even investing in it prior to those 5 years ago, and it wasn't just us nerds playing it, but there's been a massive shift in the community in those 5 years. Normally, I like to focus on the gameplay in card games, but for this video, I wanted to share my thoughts on how card games have become these massive investment areas. Disclaimer before we get started, I'm a YouTuber, not a financial advisor. I cannot predict the future, and you should not make any financial decisions based on the advice of a trading card game YouTuber, and this is not advice. That being said, I will share why I think card games are bad investments. Also, I want to add that collecting and investing are two completely different things. Collecting means that you get the cards because you like them, think they're cool, or want to have them to build decks. Investing is buying with the explicit purpose of holding onto cards or even product to try and sell them for a profit in the future. It's undeniable that trading cards are valuable. Individually rare cards can go for literal millions of dollars, but are they actually good investments? There was this big scandal a little while ago about test cards for the original Pokémon TCG that were being sold. Test cards are essentially cards that were printed out for the game developers to playtest the game, make sure it was balanced more or less. It was found out that a significant amount of the cards that were sold were actually printed in 2024, not back in 1999, meaning someone got their hands on some of the original test cards and printed fake versions and sold them. People were scammed out of thousands of dollars when they bought these cards. This is the main reason I don't think investing in card games is a great idea. Unlike other forms of investing in material goods like wine or paintings, trading cards are printed and none of the materials required for printing them are necessarily hard to come by. Proxy companies in recent years have become incredibly good at printing fake cards, so much so it can be very hard to distinguish a real from a fake one. Back in the early 2000s, it's super easy to spot fake cards, like Dark Rabbi and Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't even have the same card template. Nowadays though, it's so much easier for individuals to get access to high quality printers, find out the card stock, and match the quality of card manufacturers. I've bought some fake cards online to proxy and decks, especially in games like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic. I struggle to distinguish them from the real thing. Now, buying fake cards is awful, but that isn't the only issue. What if your cards are legitimately reprinted? Trading card game companies are allowed to reprint cards whenever they want, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a great example of this. In the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG, there's a rarity called Starlight Rare, which debuted back in 2020. This rarity had this cool prismatic design that went across the whole card, and they were highly sought after. Lightning Storm, for instance, was going for hundreds of dollars. However, for the 25th anniversary, they released the Quarter Century Secret Rare, and it's the exact same rarity as the Starlight, except it has a small watermark logo with the 25th anniversary on it. They proceeded to reprint Lightning Storm and countless other cards in QCR, which plummeted the prices. Lightning Storm still goes for $60, but is a massive drop from its price prior to the QCR release, and you get the QCR version for about $23, which looks almost identical. Any card game can do this whenever they want. Magic the Gathering technically has their quote-unquote reserved list, a list of cards they promise to never reprint and hurt the value of their players' old cards. But in 2022, they released their 30th anniversary set, which contained reprints of multiple cards on their reserved list, including the Black Lotus, the most coveted card in all of Magic. Technically, these cards were proxies, meaning they weren't legal for tournament play, but they still reprinted these highly collectible cards. Also, this is a self-imposed restriction by the company. So this means, as far as I'm aware, and if I'm wrong, please let me know in the comments down below, but if Hasbro or Wizards of the Coast ever decides, you know what, we don't want the reserve list anymore, let's reprint all these old cards for our players and make a ton of money off of it, what's stopping them? Especially with their initial test with the 30th anniversary set, that might have been them testing the waters like, are people okay with us reprinting those reserved list cards? Now, an argument against this might be that the 30th anniversary set did not impact the value of vintage Magic cards considerably, but the central point here is that any card game will reprint any cards they want if it will make them more money. Card games do not make money off of expensive cards being expensive. They make money off their players buying packs hoping they pull the expensive card. I will say Pokemon has a very aggressive anti-reprint policy. Once a card falls out of rotation, they pretty much never reprint that card. This is great for people who want to collect and have their card hold on to value, which I have to admit is a point in Pokemon's favor for those who are pro-investment. I do want to address what I'm calling the BBB2 effect, or the Beanie Baby Bubble 2. Back in the 90s, there's a huge boom for Beanie Babies. These cute little stuffed animals were hot commodities. Think Labubus in a pre-9/11 world. Individual Beanie Babies went for hundreds or thousands of dollars. People loved them, but eventually too many people tried to cash out at the same time and sell their Beanie Babies. When this happened, there was so much stock of Beanie Babies being sold that the value plummeted. I think Pokémon is BBB2, the next Beanie Baby bubble, especially with modern cards. There are just so many cards being printed in every set. If everyone decides to move into a new hobby, what's stopped the value of the cards from plummeting drastically? Now that is total speculation, but I've seen pictures online of those scalpers who have literal truckloads of Pokemon cards just sitting in their houses. And so if they decide to sell all those, or people decide, you know what, this hobby's not a great investment anymore, they sell everything, I could see that just plummeting the prices on so many different cards and so much different product. Now the next issue also has to address card games as a whole. There is a lot of card games out there right now. Literally dozens of new card games have come out in the last 5 years. It's not like these are random homebrew card games. These are big hitters like Riftbound, One Piece, Hololive. Games backed by massively popular brands. But will these new games be good investments? Maybe, but if you look at the last 30 years, there have been literally hundreds of card games that have been released, and the majority of which are no longer in print or worth the paper they're even printed on. Some card games may hold their value over time. Games like Chaotic had a cult following who love the old cards, Duel Masters being the same way. But more likely than not, a lot of new card games will die off the next 5, maybe 10 years if they're lucky, and become footnotes in future YouTube videos where some Gen Z, Gen Alpha influencer asks, oh my gosh, do you remember this ancient dead card game? Games with these huge brands behind them like One Piece or Riftbound may have a collector market in the future for them, but I'm a bit skeptical. Scalpers in recent years seem to buy and hoard a ton of product. It's really hard to tell exactly how much card game product is out there because so many people just buy it and hoard it. Your Origins booster box of Riftbound could be worth thousands one day, or it could be worth the exact same amount it is today because the company printed hundreds of thousands of boxes. Now that's kind of the rule for any card game being printed. We don't really know the exact quantities, we have rough estimates, but that's a concern. Every new card game seems to be immediately bought out when it first gets released, so I'm a bit unsure if investing in new card games will actually pay off, or if we run into the BBB2 issue once again. The last point I want to address are the highly coveted cards. Cards like Black Lotus, the One Ring, Tyler the Great Warrior, base set Shadowless Charizard, Illustrator Pikachu. These are cards that go for hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars. These are commodities in their own realm. The average person is not investing in these. 99.9999% of cards will never be this valuable. I think if you're buying an SIR Umbreon thing that will be worth $100,000 one day, you might be coping just a little bit. The majority of trading cards are not as valuable as the most highly coveted ones. The people who are investing in those cards, the highly coveted ones, really don't need to be investing in cards, period. They won, they made their money, they're uber rich and just buying cool cards they want to have or to flex on others. Now, to be clear, I'm not hating on anyone who collects cards. Collecting is fun. If you like it, then go for it. In my personal opinion, I think investing in trading card games is not a smart idea. There are better ways to invest your money. I think that's a very risky market to invest into. But, like I said, I'm not a financial advisor or even a financial advisor channel. This is for entertainment purposes only. You should not use this to inform any financial decisions that you make. Also, card games are meant to be played with, packs are meant to be opened, cards are meant to be used. I love playing card games. It is literally the most fun I have in life, and with so many investment bros trying to make a quick buck by scalping, buying out cards, it makes it harder for the people who love the game to actually play it. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a lovely day.